Right, so welcome back to another video on this channel, and in today's video I'm going to be doing something a bit interesting because I'm essentially going to be going through all the teams that I think are in the thick of the relegation battle and essentially analysing them, going through them all, and yeah, at the end of this video then I will decide the three teams that I think will be playing their football in the championship next season. But before we do get into this video, I would like to quickly ask you guys to subscribe to the channel, and first of all I would like to thank you massively for 1,200 subscribers, which we did hit yesterday, and yeah, now we're looking to hit 1,300 subscribers, so if you are new to the channel, you know what to do. It costs you absolutely nothing if you subscribe to the channel, and it makes my day a win-win situation. And yeah, let's get into analysing every team that I think is in the relegation battle this season. Starting off with, of course, the bottom team at this moment in time, Sheffield United. Now, I think we can all agree on one thing, and that is that Sheffield United are all but down at this moment in time. I mean, we're in January and they only have 2 points to their name, which is just absolutely horrendous. But I think it is a bit weird, if I'm honest, because I can't really understand how they only have 2 points this season, because if you actually look at the results, they haven't actually been too bad in most of their games. I mean, only in 17 of their games so far this season. In 11 of those games, they've only lost by one singular goal, so it's not like they're getting absolutely hammered every single week. And to be honest, they don't really have a terrible squad either. I mean, I think that one injury that's definitely played a part on their poor form is Jack O'Connell, who of course is their centre-back, who's been absolutely key for them over the years. Also, injuries at the start of the season to John Fleck and Lys Mousset have obviously affected their momentum early doors this season. But I think the harsh reality for Sheffield United purely is that they haven't really managed to score enough goals. I think one of the main reasons why they've struggled with goals this season is because they've struggled to get the best out of Ryan Brewster, who did sign for I think around 20 to 25 million pounds in the summer from Liverpool. And yeah, I think if they want to have any, late surge up the table to obviously survive from relegation, they're going to have to try and get the best out of the likes of Ryan Brewster, who of course, as I said, hasn't really hit the ground running yet for Sheffield United. I purely don't think that he suits their system yet. And yeah, I think if Sheffield United somehow manage to save themselves from relegation in the second half of this season, I think it will be the great escape in Premier League history. I think their hole is already dug though, and I do think that Sheffield United will be consigned to Championship football next season, unfortunately. Now on to West Bromwich Albion, managed by Sam Allardyce, formerly managed by Slaven Bilic, of course, who did get sacked last month. Now, West Bromwich Albion have only got themselves one win this season, which ironically was against Sheffield United, and like Sheffield United, the big issue for West Brom this season has been scoring goals. Players like Grady Diangana, Mateus Pereira and Carlon Grant, who, if you actually looked at it on paper, is a very, very strong front three for a team that are going to be around the relegation battle, but none of those three have really showed up this season thus far. They also have been massively leaking goals this season, West Brom, because of course, as much as they haven't scored any goals, I mean, they've conceded 39 goals in their first 17 games this season, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And if I'm being perfectly honest, it could be a lot more if it wasn't for the, magnificent of Sam Johnston so far this season. Overall, I feel like West Brom's squad just isn't really strong enough. I don't think they strengthened quite enough in the summer, and if I'm being perfectly honest, I think Sam Allardyce needs to get at least 3 or 4 names in the January transfer window if they're going to have any marginal chance of survival. They have picked up some quality results here and there, especially, draws at the Etihad and Anfield against Manchester City and Liverpool respectively. But yeah, like Sheffield United, I just think that the hole is too deep now for West Brom to climb out of. I do think that they will be playing their football in the Championship next season, but who knows, because of course anything can happen when Sam Allardyce is in charge, especially if he gets in those players that he does want. Now on to Scott Parker's side, Fulham. Now of course, a lot of you who have been fans of this channel for quite some time, you'll know I'm quite a fan of this Fulham team, simply because of the fact, they play some very good football. I think they have a very balanced squad as well. I mean, you look at their attacking talent, like the likes of Ademola Lookman, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, even Ivan Cavallero, Bobby De Cordova-Reid, Andre Zambo Anguissa and Mario Lemina in midfield is very strong as well, and then the back four of course Ola Aina, Anthony Robinson, Joaquim Anderson and Tosin Adarabioyo with Alphonse Areola in net. So Fulham overall have a very, very strong starting 11. They started the season really, really badly, especially on the opening day against Arsenal when they lost 3-0 at Craven Cottage. I think most people, had the writing on the wall for Fulham that they would be straight relegated back to the Championship. But in the last month or so, they've actually picked up a few points here and there. They've actually done relatively well, and they have looked a lot more solid than they did in the early weeks of the season. I think mainly in the January transfer window, they're going to need a striker. Obviously, they play Ivan Cavallero up top at this moment in time, who, is very quick but not very clinical, so I think they need a fast striker who can have that clinical edge, because at this moment in time, Alexander Mitrovic, who we thought would be their marquee player this season, hasn't really fit into the system that Scott Parker does want to play at Fulham. And I did say it after Fulham beat Leicester away from home at the King Power Stadium in December, I thought that Fulham would survive, but I think the main reason why I think they could potentially go down is simply because of the fact that, the teams around them have so much quality as well compared to them. And I think they do actually have a very good chance at survival this season, but I think it relies on one singular thing happening in the Premier League at the basement battle, and I will get onto that in just a moment. And we move on to Brighton and Hove Albion now, who of course are one of those teams that pretty much everyone expected to be around mid-table so far this season, but of course it hasn't worked out for them. They haven't scored enough goals. I mean, if you actually look at their expected goals, they've actually dominated a lot of teams, if not most of their teams that they've played against this season in terms of their expected goals ratio, and overall they've only won 2 games this season, so I think it's quite obvious to see that they do lack a striker that is going to bang in the goals, because they definitely do create chances, but yeah, they just don't have that striker that is going to, you know, put them into the back of the net. And that's purely what I think it comes down to. I think if Brighton do go out and get themselves a striker that hits the ground running, I think they will survive and Fulham will go down. But on the other hand, I think if Brighton don't manage to get a striker that will hit the ground running, I think that Fulham will be the ones that stay up and Brighton will go down. And that's why I think that overall the final relegation place, combined with Sheffield United and West Brom's relegation to the Championship, I think the final place is ultimately between Brighton and Fulham, and that is why I think that the final relegation place relies heavily on whether Brighton can actually get that striker in that will score the goals to keep them up. But yeah, whatever happens for the final stages of the season should be very interesting between two teams like Fulham and Brighton, who do play some very good football, but, you know, can't really score enough goals at this moment in time. Now on to Burnley now. Of course, Burnley had an absolutely shambolic start to the season under Sean Dyche. I mean, it only took them 9 games to win their first game of the season, but they have recovered a lot in these recent weeks, I have to say. They didn't really improve on their squad in the summer whatsoever. I mean, it just goes to show their record signing in the summer was Dale Stephens, who, you know, was classed as Brighton Deadwood in the summer, if I'm being honest. But they're a hard-working, gritty bunch of players, and I think overall Sean Dyche proving once again why I think he's one of the most underrated managers in the Premier League, because he keeps getting the best out of these players on a weekly basis, which is just absolutely phenomenal stuff. And simply because of the impact of Sean Dyche on this squad, I do think Burnley should relatively comfortably survive this season. I think they'll finish around 15th or 16th in the Premier League. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I think if Burnley do not back Sean Dyche in the summer, they'll be in massive trouble, because I think if Sean Dyche does leave, which I think he'll have every right to do if he doesn't get backed in the summer by Burnley, I think Burnley could be in some massive trouble next season and going forward. Now on to Newcastle United, the final team I've got as a relegation candidate. Now obviously a lot of people at the start of the season, especially after their first few wins in the Premier League this season, I don't think many, including myself, actually expected Newcastle would be in this category. But I have to say they've been really poor this season. I think Steve Bruce is actually not a bad manager, but I don't really like the negative style of play he goes for. As I've said multiple times on this channel, Steve Bruce does kind of tend to adapt to this, like, you know, damage limitation brand of football, which I don't really like, if I'm honest. I'd like to see Newcastle utilise the attacking talent they actually do have at this moment in time, like the likes of Callum Wilson, even Joe Linton, who's been doing okay this season as a target man next to Wilson, San Maximin, Almiron Fraser, so they have got some attacking talent there. And I think that Newcastle overall should be just about okay with the squad they have, and also the fact that Steve Bruce, I think, will have just enough to keep them in the Premier League this season. Overall, really hoping for myself that, you know, Newcastle do get that takeover eventually, hopefully this summer, because I think that Newcastle fans, they deserve nothing less for how patient they've been under Mike Ashley. And yes, so that'll bring us to the end of this video. So to conclude, I think that the 3 relegated teams this season will be Sheffield United, West Bromwich Albion, and then it's a 50-50 between Brighton and Fulham, of course relying on whether Brighton can get in that striker that will bang in the goals to keep them up this season. And if you disagree or agree with any of the choices I've gone for in this video, please make sure to comment down below, because I'm very interested to see how you guys think this relegation battle will go towards the end of the season. And yeah, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like. 20 likes as per usual will be massively appreciated by myself. And as I said at the start of this video, thank you so much for 1,200 subscribers. The support on this channel, even still after Christmas, has been absolutely immense, so yeah, thank you for that. And also make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new, because we are looking to now hit 1,300 subscribers as soon as we possibly can. And I'll see you guys in my next video. See ya.